Good evening, and welcome to What's Your Story? This is the second part of a two-part taping. My guest tonight is Donna Jenner. Her story will touch your heart. If you missed the first part of the taping, it was her personal story of how one day she had two beautiful, vibrant, lovely, healthy children, and the next day they were gone, victims of a terrible car accident. But her story doesn't end there. It goes on to show how she has challenged herself in the midst of unfathomable grief. Ladies and gentlemen, again, it is with a great deal of pride that I introduce to you tonight's guest, Donna Jenner. Donna, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You know, in the first part, we talked about your personal experience losing Anthony and Jessica. And we ran pictures on the screen, and I think they may be doing that for the second part as well. I hope they do. But there was one question I didn't get to that I'd like to ask you in the second half of the show. I know it's about the organization, but does it give you any solace at all that they died together?
It does. It does, because I think about the two of them. They were very, very close. And I don't know what one would have done if they had been left here on Earth without the other. So it does give me solace that they went together.
One day you're watching the television. You see a broadcast for an organization. Please tell us what that organization is, how you got involved with it, and why.
Well, that organization, it's called Mourning Parents Act, and it also goes by Impact. And shortly after the accident, I had seen an interview of two women who had done a presentation at a high school. And after seeing that on the news, I knew immediately that was something I wanted to do. So I emailed the news station and I asked, how do I get in touch with that organization? And they gave me the information. So I got in touch with Impact, and Jessica and Anthony's accident was in October. And by December, I did my first presentation with Impact. And I've been presenting ever since.
Now tell us exactly what Impact is. They are the friends and family of teenagers who died in automobile accidents, or just young people who died in unfortunate accidents.
Yeah, they're parents, family members, friends who have lost teens in tragic car crashes. And we have one member who was a driver himself who killed a passenger. And then we have another member who survived a crash, who was a passenger. So kind of a mix of, victims, but all involving teen crashes.
What is
fatalities.
What is the mission of the organization?
Our mission is to eliminate tragedies caused by inexperienced teen drivers through awareness, education, and legislation.
How does legislation help inexperienced teen drivers?
Well, for us especially, we were especially involved in the graduated licensing laws.
What are they? Please tell our audience.
Those are laws when teens get their licenses that say, for instance, when can a teen have a passenger in a motor vehicle?
Oh, okay. Those are called the graduated.
Right.
Okay.
So graduated meaning for the 6 months in Connecticut, they can't have any passengers at all.
What about cell phones or?
Right, and the same thing, anybody between the age of 16 and 18, they can't use cell phones at all. Even if they had a Bluetooth device, they can't use a cell phone. they have passengers in their vehicles, everybody has to have a seatbelt, that type of thing. They're not allowed to drive after 11 p.m. at night. They have nighttime curfew restrictions. So graduated licensing, meaning between 16 and 18, there's only, certain things they can and cannot do. As they get older, as they get more experience on the road, then they can do, more things.
Now, I saw some technology where the vehicle had a printout for the parents to be able to see where the car went, how fast the driver was. That's amazing. Do you talk to that stuff too? Anybody in your organization use that?
We, in our organization, I'm not aware of anyone that's using it, but we do, attend conferences, safety conferences. I recently came back from Texas. I went to a Lifesavers conference, and I saw a lot of that technology that they have available for parents to install on vehicles that can print out these types of reports that monitor, the teen driving behavior. And, they can tell if, there's been certain events while the teen has driven, sudden braking events or, speeding, that type of thing.
Yeah, they have governors on the cars, so the car will only go so fast. I was amazed at that.
Yeah.
In the first part of the show, you said that people were writing terrible things about your son, calling him unfathomable names that won't be mentioned here. Have you ever for a second allowed yourself to think that maybe the accident was his fault? Did you ever think about that?
I have, and I know for a fact that Anthony was going over the speed limit.
Okay.
He wasn't going 80 miles an hour as, some of the reports
Sure.
had misinformed.
Sure.
But he was going over the speed limit. And I have to say to myself, had he been going the speed limit, would things have been different? Maybe. Unfortunately, we'll never know.
Are you angry at Anthony at all?
I'm not. I know he was 17 years old. He was a kid. So no.
A traditional 17-year-old knucklehead. That's
Yeah.
what we all have, though. Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
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 Donna, you face parents and friends on a regular basis who lose their children in the blink of an eye. School just let out. You told me that that's the deadliest 100 days of the year for teenagers. Would you please explain to our viewing audience exactly what it is you're talking about when you say that?
Right. Yeah, it's that period of time from Memorial Day through Labor Day. They call it the 100 deadliest days through summer. And statistically, it's been shown that accidents increase for teen drivers. Teen drivers between the ages of 16 and 19 increase after Memorial Day, between Memorial Day and Labor Day. They see that, for year after year after year. So they call it the 100 deadliest days of summer. So for us at Impact, we target that time. For us, we have a billboard campaign now that we specifically put them up. Right now, we just put them up, so we target the 100 deadliest days. And on May 30th, we'll be working with AAA, and they have a campaign that they will be targeting those 100 deadliest days, because just statistically, it's shown there are more teen accidents during that period of time.
What what AAA's actual involvement is going to be?
This year, I know they're going to be bringing in the Plymouth Police Department, who responded. There was a horrible crash. You may be familiar Last year, there were 7 teens that had all piled into that vehicle. They're going to have them come in and do some speaking, and they may have some other things. I'm not aware of, the full plan, but that's one of the things I know they're going to be doing.
Donna, how do you gauge your effectiveness? I mean, the accident happened in 2007 in October. By December, you were out speaking to groups. How does Impact gauge how effective its message is? Do you track it? Do you chart it? How do you know that you're being effective with these kids? Because let's be realistic. We just talked about it. They're 17, 18 years old. They think they're immortal. Nothing's going to hurt them. They get behind the wheel. The boys think that they're Mario Andretti. When the ink on their license isn't even dry yet,
right.
and they're knuckleheads. I mean,
right.
That's what they are.
Right.
And so, how do you gauge your effectiveness?
So there's 2 ways. I mean, one, for not just impact, but we look at GDL laws. So, GDL laws, there's a lot of statistics around that, and we can look at those statistics through the DMV.
Tell the audience again what GDL is.
Graduated driving licensing laws.
Okay, and those are specifically targeted to young drivers.
Right,
okay.
Between the ages of 16 and 18.
16 and 18, okay.
So we know, statistically, we can see the downward trend, the accidents, those going down. Now, is that impact? Is that me going around speaking? I can't say that that's me, impact. However, impact, what we do is we have feedback forms that we send to schools, and we have kids fill them out and just say, what did you think, and did we change the way you thought? Tell us your comments. So we do get that from kids. We have kids just that come up to us after our presentations and talk to us. So we have that. And then we have a Facebook page.
Okay.
We have a website.
Okay.
And kids will reach out to us that way. And and every once in a while, we'll get an email, and that's how we can gauge how successful we are. And in general, what we hear from kids is, they hear cops stand up there and, wave their fingers at them and say, don't do this and don't do that. But they seem really impacted by us because we don't lecture them. We stand up there, we tell them just our personal story, and we say, this is what happened. It happened. It was real. It was horrible. And we're not lecturing. We just say it can happen, and it was awful, and we don't want it to happen to you, and this is how you can prevent it. And we tug at their heartstrings, and they see us as their mom, or their dad or their friend, and that seems to be effective with them, and they seem to respond to that better than the lecturing and we're going to come after you or arrest you or that type of thing.
That's a heavy-handed approach.
Yeah.
Donna, in doing this, you are, for want of a better expression, keeping your wounds sort of open. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes. We relive it. Every time we have to tell our story, we relive it.
How do you find the courage to do that, Donna?
I just tell myself it's worth it. If I can, have just one teen hear me. When I have one teen come up to me and tell me, you know what, I had one teen tell me, I'm going to get rid of my super fast car. And if I can have just one teen, make a comment like that to me or something, it's worth it. It's worth it to, put my heart out there.
When I first met you and sat down to talk with you, I'll be candid with my audience, because I too suffered the loss of a child, not through an automobile accident, but fairly recently, so the wounds are still deep with me. And you began to talk to me. I was struck by your courage in taking unfathomable grief and channeling it to try to help somebody else. That's an extraordinary thing to do. Not everybody does that. despite your anger at God, and despite the questions that will never be answered, if he was driving slower, would it have happened, and why me, and on and on and on, which human beings get into. I'm saying all that to lead up to this. Is there anything good that came out of Anthony and Jessica's death as far as you're concerned?
I would say the good thing is that I am doing this and I believe saving lives. That's a good thing that's coming out of this, and that's why I'm doing this, is to try to make something good come out of something so bad.
Do you visit the cemetery?
Oh yeah.
How often do you go?
About once a week.
Once a week.
Yeah.
Are they buried close to each other?
Yes, right together. Mm-hmm.
How do you feel when you go there?
Sad, but close to them.
Did they each have a separate room in your home?
Yes.
Did you leave the rooms pretty much the way they are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did you do that?
I think probably because it's still not wanting to let them go. Yeah. Still keeping a piece of them in the house. Keeping things the way it was. I tell a story to the kids when I do my presentations about how Anthony had a very bad habit. When he would go down into the family room, he would hit the wall, and he left this grimy handprint on the wall all the time. And I would yell at him, and I'd get Windex, and I'd clean the grimy handprint.
Yeah,
I'd get so mad. I'd just stop doing that. And I recently had the entire inside of my house painted. But when the painter painted, I said, "Don't paint that spot." So my whole house is painted except there's that grimy handprint up there. And I said, if I ever leave my house, I'll probably have to cut the sheetrock and take it with me. That's all you have. You know, photographs, memories, and a grimy handprint.
This has been a very difficult interview for me because I feel so deeply for you and what you've lived through and what you've gone through. And as I said before, I think you're a person of extraordinary courage to come here tonight and do a two-parter and talk about your loss and the detail that you've talked about it. And our station and this show is deeply appreciative to you because we do this show as an inspirational show, hoping that we can reach somebody who's going through something that we went through or similar, or we can help somebody or save somebody or stop somebody from doing something. And I'm just so very honored to meet you. Now, tell me this, Donna, about impact. Do you have children, teenagers on the board?
We don't have any teenagers. We have teenagers who have come up with impact. For instance, my daughter's best friend, she has been a member since she was 14. Of course, she's gone to college and she graduated and now she has a job and she's in her 20s. So at the present moment, we don't have any teens. I feel like she's a teen because in my mind, my daughter's still 14, and I look at her, best friend as still being 14, but she's not. She's a young woman now. So presently, no teens.
You might want to consider having teens on your board.
Mm-hmm.
Getting them involved at that level.
We certainly would love to have them. We certainly would welcome them.
I think that, I don't mean to tell you how to do what you do, but if you go out, you should maybe start looking for people, mm-hmm. teenagers who would be willing to, they're teenagers, but how they could serve on the board and help with ideas. And this is a social media generation
Right.
And the truth is, they've lived through more violence than you or I ever imagined when we were kids. I mean, there was always a war somewhere, but this stuff is personal and going on all the time. And the first car I had, I bought myself when I was in my 20s.
Right.
So it wasn't a question that I was going to have a car as a teenager, you know. So do you ever question yourself for giving Anthony a car?
His dad bought him the car, and it's been an issue. Yeah. I didn't want him to have the car that he had. So yeah.
What kind of car did he have?
It was a Subaru WRX.
And what is that, a sporty?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, souped up, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Mom was against him driving?
Not driving necessarily,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, not happy about that car. Although, I mean, it was inspected. It did have a very good safety rating and everything. So I can't say that that it didn't, but yeah, it was a sporty car.
Sure.
Which was some of the criticism that was received after the accident.
Yes, I know. You have a busy night after you leave the station tonight. Can you
Yes,
tell
I
our
do.
audience a little bit about what you're going to do?
Yes, I'm on my way to the Science Center tonight because we are giving out the awards to the teens for the video contest, because Travelers and the DMV every year they do a video contest. They come up with a topic, and high school students can submit videos. And so tonight is the awards banquet for us to give those out tonight. So we'll be doing that. It'll be a very nice banquet for them.
Now, didn't you speak somewhere this afternoon?
I did.
Where did you speak?
I spoke at Windham Tech High School in Willimantic today. So it's been a busy day.
And you get ultimate satisfaction from that.
I do, yeah.
And when you go home at night and you sit down on your couch or your kitchen table and birthdays come and Christmases come and you're there, how do you find the strength, Donna? Where does it come from?
I have two angels on either side that hold me up. That's where it comes from.
You still converse with them?
I do. I do.
It's not uncommon.
No, not at all.
Do you think you're going to resolve your anger issues with the Almighty?
Probably when I get up there.
Can you see any reasoning for what you went through at all?
Well, people tell me, because he wanted you to do this. I said, but I would have done it anyway. If just told me, I would have done it. But yeah, I don't know.
You know, we have people watching tonight whose kids have cars.
Right.
They just got out of school, or they will shortly be getting out of school in June, I guess. And those parents are worried. What is your advice to them?
Well, my number one advice is be a good role model yourself.
What does that mean?
Don't text and drive yourself, because your kids are going to look at what you're doing. The behaviors that you use on the road. Are you an aggressive driver yourself? Do you text and drive? Do you, eat and drink? And, are you distracted when you're driving? Know the graduated licensing laws yourself. Know if your newly licensed driver can have a passenger or not have a passenger. You need to know those laws when your child first gets their license and they say, well, I'm going to, pick up my friend and take them to the basketball game. You need to know that they can't have a passenger, know that they can't be on the road, know the rules, be familiar with what the rules are. Make sure they've had plenty of practice on the road.
Okay, good. That's all the time we have for tonight's show. Again, I want to thank my very special guest, Donna Jenner, for coming and telling her story and sharing her life with us tonight. Everybody has a stories. Our stories are as varied as the stars and as different as each snowflake. What's your story? Until next time, I'm Jim Reed for What's Your Story. Good night.